Well, the light, I think, at that time wasn't too bad. You know, they were using lamps, using what that time was carbide lamps, you know, and they were using those searchlights. My father's light happened to go out, quench, and that's when he had already traced a track as he thought a child's shoe. So he was going to stay there and not stir until someone with the light would catch up to him. And so he stayed there, and while he was waiting, he happened to call my name. And that's when I answered. I was waiting for him.
Strych mir die Gendrian, da speak,
My brothers, Paddy, Tommy, Bernie, they were the guilty ones. They neglected. Forgot to bring me home. They were playing ball, yeah, or the ball game, and I was one side playing with my little bits and pieces, one side, and they were playing the ball, and when they had finished, you know, they packed up and went off home and forgot about me until tea time. And then I was missed. My father always treated me to the top of the egg, the boiled egg, and I wasn't there that evening for the egg. So that's when I was missed. Where was I? So one brother said to the other, "Was she not with you? I thought she was with the other." So then the search started. You know, the word circulated then that I was missing. So the search party gathered together and started searching.
How she managed it, nobody ever knew, but Maura, at a time when she was only able to crawl rather than walk, vanished into thin air one afternoon on the foreshore at Enniscrone. She disappeared as utterly and completely as if she had been swallowed into the deep sunken hold of the ancient rusty wreck of the Rathlee, or if the fairies had come down from the fort in Kilcullen's field and spirited her away, or, grim, an ever-growing fear of that anxious night, that the outgoing tide had claimed her a victim. She was, no doubt, a winsome and manageable little morsel. The family lived in a long, low-slated house that jutted out on the strand gable to the sea, and the evidence suggested that she was last seen on the sandy stretch beyond Wallace Hopkins. The alarm was raised with a will. Every able-bodied man in the village joined in the night-long search. Women went out too, but mostly the women stayed at home and said prayers and made tea for men who came back from the search at intervals to refuel their lamps.
So the author, can you remember his name?
Brian Barrett. He went with the Irish name, the Irish.
Yeah, Brian Barrett,
Yeah.
or Brian O'Barrett.
Yeah.
And he lived in Enniscrone.
Yes. Well, he lived in Enniscrone at the time. That's where he heard the story himself, in the local pub. He happened to be there.
Sure.
And he was just, his head was above the counter, and he was listening to all this. And he had that story. He had it off that when he wrote that article, it was verbatim, every word for word. Then, on that particular day, he happened to be in Enniscrone.
This is like 50 years later, wasn't
50
it?
years later. And it was a very busy day. Very busy day. And anyway, a little child went missing. And that brought back to his mind, my story. So the following week, I suppose, he published my story in the local paper. And that's where we saw it ourselves. Yeah. In 1979, I read it myself. and Patricia and Rita happened to be staying in Wavebrook,
Your cousins from
my
America.
cousin, and they read it. We all read it together. Actually, we didn't know the writer. We didn't know. But we went as far as going to the publisher, the Western People. We went as far as them and got his name and address. And they gave us that he was living here in Dublin now. And if we cared to call him, that he would love to see it. But anyway, unfortunately, we didn't pursue it. Then this is what I was told. The editor of that particular paper that published my story, they had bloodhounds, and they sent out from Ballina to where I was going 2 bloodhounds to assist in the search. But fortunately, I had been found at that time. I was found at the time. I suppose that a few years after that, and I was told the story. You were lost. You were lost, and my father, I always remember my father saying, "Why did you go away? Why did you leave me?"
Well, I think at first Mammy was a little bit reluctant to tell the story because it seemed as if her brothers had neglected her. But then she became a little bit boastful about it then because you felt you were very special, didn't you, Mammy?
Yeah. I was a favourite after that.
That's what you told me. She was the favourite after that.
Paddy Carr was in the bad books, Bernie Carr was in the bad books.
And Mammy, when he found you, you told me that he wrapped you.
Oh, he took off his jacket. He took off his jacket and he wrapped it around me.
And he brought you.
And carried me home.
And what did he do when they brought you to work?
He sent on the word ahead of him that I was found. So that word was passed along that I was found. And the first thing that was asked was, "Is she alive?" They didn't expect I would be. That I would survive.
So this is where, what's this, Mammy?
This is the Valley of Diamonds.
Yeah.
It shows the Valley of Diamonds.
And where did your father find you?
Just past the Valley of Diamonds, down in those dunes.
And how
More
far
than
away
a
was
minute.
that from where you were playing?
Actually, 3 miles.
3 miles.
Yeah.
And you were what age?
2 years.
And what time of the year was it?
March.
And can you remember what year it was?
Well, I can't remember, but I was told it was 24.
1924.
23 or 24.
Mm-hmm. You were born in what year?
21.
1921.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
At that time now, there was no such thing as running water. It was a bath. They made a bath of hot water, warm water. And this is what they told me. They put me into the bath of warm water. The following day was a very bad day. It rained and rained and rained. And they said, had I not been found the previous evening, I would have been lost. I was tired, having crawled or walked that distance, 3 miles, for a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
A 2-year-old walked that distance.
And you could have crawled where?
I could have crawled in the opposite direction out towards the sea and gone into the sea.
To the Atlantic.
Yeah. It was close by. There was only the beach between us. I could have gone in there. But luckily I must have fallen asleep.
Well, fortunately you were in the dunes.
Yeah, I was in the dunes, sand dunes. I was in there. And I was there, I fell asleep, and that's where I found him. He found me. And I answered him from there. I was beside him. When he called my name, I was right beside him. From 6 in the evening, and until 6 in the morning. That's when I was found. 6 in the morning. The search went on all that time, until 6 in the morning. And that's when I was found. And they were searching until then. My father would not give up. Once he found that track, he kept on going. He wouldn't stop.
All the people in in Enniscrone, while you were missing, the men were out looking for you, and what were the women doing?
The women were at home praying. I had to be found, praying and making tea for the men. Yeah. Well, you know, we had a little shop at the time, Ryan, a little shop at Wavecrest. And you know how the children wander in and out, and I'd be one of them, of course. And everyone that came in, you know, if I happened to be there, we were out searching for you.
The older men would say.
The older men would say, yeah. We were out searching for you. You were lost.
Memory is a curious thing. Things we should like to be able to recall on demand are often forgotten. They tend to lose themselves in the hidden recesses of the mind, while other things of less import keep popping up out of the secret little compartments and presenting themselves quite uninvited. Something touches a secret spring in a little drawer and out they jump. The older one grows, the more troublesome the mental filing system becomes. We may completely forget the details of something that happened last year, but we seem to have a ready mental reference book on a variety of unrelated things in old filing cabinets of the mind that filled themselves of their own accord long ago. Childhood memories, in particular, have a habit of coming more and more to the fore when they should be receding further back. It is a state of mind that is sometimes called dotage and sometimes second childhood. It is generally harmless.
The childhood memory was a rabbit either side of me, sitting up straight, minding me, as I thought, and a light in the distance, a light the far side of the Atlantic, the beach, was a light as I thought. And that's the only memory I had. Only what I was told afterwards.
So since Mammy has come to Belmont, the two musicians, Hedda and Rod, have asked for people to submit their life experiences. So I gave them a copy of Brian Barrett's story, recounting Mammy's story of her being lost. So they have composed a beautiful song. What's the name of the song, Mammy?
When I was lost, when Maura Carroll was lost.
So they composed a lovely song, which is a waltz. And they said that they might compose a musical. And it was premiered in a theatre.
In Bray.
Yeah, in the Mermaid Theatre in Bray. And they're going to do it again next November. Yeah. And who's the patron of their group?
Our president, Marty T. Henry.
Yeah. He hopes to. They've invited him to the concert, haven't they?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. He has read the story. I'm very impressed.
He's trying to meet the lost child.
He's trying to meet the lost child.
Oh, thank you so much. That's beautiful. Oh.